The rest to beat your ass. And this is one of the reasons why I quit. After a degree, after clinicals, after 5 years of teaching, one of those reasons is why I quit. What up, everybody? I am the Mademoiselle, and this is my channel. Welcome to another video. As you guys can tell by the title, as well as the intro, we are actually going to be reacting to teachers quitting. I feel like a lot of people are not understanding what we've been talking about in the last couple of videos regarding why we have such a nationwide teacher shortage. So I thought, let's react to some videos on TikTok. Before we get started, thank you guys so much for all the love, support, the shares, the hypes, the joining of the membership. Like, I cannot thank you guys enough. Like, y'all, like the love has been overwhelming. And I decided, you know what, we're just gonna keep this going and we're gonna keep getting all of the topics out there that I've already had on my list regarding the current state of education in the United States. Because I ain't gonna hold you, there be times like I work with kids and I just be like, I'm going to move to Japan where they take education seriously. And unfortunately for me, it's never about the kids, right? It's never the kids' behavior. It's never that a kid pissed me off. Now I'm going to quit. And I will say I am blessed. I am blessed that kids genuinely don't play in my face the way they be playing with these teachers, because for the most part, a lot of these kids are bad. Okay, like they really are insanely disrespectful, ridiculously unaware of how they act. Some of them are aware and they genuinely don't care. They're just there to make your life hard. They're there to give you a hard time. And I think a lot of parents don't understand this, because a lot of the parents that genuinely don't want to understand this are the ones with the horrible kids that don't understand that their kids are horrible outside of the house, right? It's always, oh, well, if he or she is acting like that, maybe the teacher did something. Maybe it's the school. A lot of times your kid just ain't shit. Okay. And that's coming from me, who used to be one of those kids where I was smart enough to do all my caca outside of school. So in school, I was a scholar. I'm friends with the teachers. I'm friends with the principal to this day. I still have a close relationship with a lot of my teachers from high school, because that was the type of kid I was. I wasn't necessarily bad, but I did do a lot of shit. I was beating people up and I wasn't getting suspended. I got suspended one time in high school because I planned it and I knew what was going to happen. But at the same time, that girl was bothering me. Listen, I already did a whole story time on that years ago. Maybe, hopefully I remember to link it down below. All in all, to say, like, a lot of times you think you know your kids, but you don't. My parents would have told you that I was like the best kid ever. I don't fight. I don't this. I don't that. And shout out to them for defending me all these years. But I was outside. Okay. I was outside and they would have never knew. Now they know. Like, now I told them, like, yeah, no, I definitely did punch such and such in the face. And okay, it is what it is. And I think that's why, like, I chose to work with like at-risk youth and kids in Black neighborhoods, because it's different. When you work with kids in the suburbs, or you work with predominantly white, or like just kids in other races and ethnicities, it's not the same. Those of you guys who are teachers understand that. If you're admin, you understand that. There is a different way to handle and deal with these kids that is unspoken. A lot of times admin love to have like these professional development type of meetings like every week to help these, teachers with classroom management. And I will say, right, classroom management is part of the reason why these kids are out of control, but it's not all of it, because with a lot of these kids, especially this new generation of kids, especially Black kids, you don't handle them the way you handle everything else. And a lot of these class, yes, yes. If you hear my voice clap once, doesn't always work on these kids. Sometimes you got to be like, yo, sit down if he's upset. Like, sometimes you got to just sit quiet and wait for them to realize, like, oh, wow, we ain't getting nothing done. Sometimes you got to start calling the name. Like, like, it's not always as black and white. And unfortunately, we are losing a lot of good educators because of this. So if you are an educator, you worked in schools, you're a substitute, you're a para, whatever, I'd love to hear your stories down below. I know I have stories for days. I don't know if I want to start doing school story times, because I ain't going to hold you. I'd be sitting here for years. With that being said, let's get straight into the reaction.
I quit teaching. This has been my 5th and final year of being a teacher. If you follow me on TikTok, you probably noticed that I have not posted in a couple months. I haven't posted since February. I have been kind of chipped out and mentally and emotionally done with this job. I'm leaving, and it wasn't a decision that I have taken lightly. This is a decision that I have been thinking about all year. This year has been extremely challenging for me. I'm not sure if, for those of you who are not in education, are aware of what's happening in schools, but it's not easy. I don't think people truly understand what teachers are going through. Lots of children are not told no at home, which makes my job extremely difficult when it comes to having them hold accountability for their actions and their mistakes and following directions and keeping their hands to themselves. This year, I have been cursed at by both students and parents. I have been hit, punched repeatedly. And what hurts the most is the lack of support from the families when you are telling them and explaining what their child did. Instead of asking you, "Are you okay?" or "My child did what?" they ask you, "Well, what did you do to make them upset?" Or, "Are there cameras in the room?" The behaviors that I have had to put up with this year are behaviors that I have never experienced.
I just have to pause because I have too much to say about this. I know a lot of y'all hate when I pause the videos, but I am a reaction and commentary channel. So if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. The videos are usually linked down below though. Also remember, I have ADHD, so it's hard for me to like collect my thoughts and then like wait till the end. So if you don't like that, again, I don't know what to tell you. Let me just say, right? This happens so often. You're going to see a reoccurring theme. I'm also going to do a video about teachers being fired. Okay. It's not only because of like surface level things. A lot of times it is budget cuts. Sometimes it's just, the school doesn't see the use for you. They don't like the way you act or they don't like the way you handle the situation. This has happened to so many teachers that I know. Personally, I've never been hit and child, I would press charges so fast as if one of these kids ever had the nerve or audacity to put hands on me. I'm pressing charges. I'm going to be on CNN because late. Like, we need to stop letting kids get away with certain behaviors. But also, this is part of the reason I do not work with babies. I do not work with young kids. A lot of people tend to think, oh, well, no, like the high schoolers and the middle schoolers got attitude, they got mouth. They the ones that might hook up on you. No, it's the babies. It's almost always the babies. And I can tell she works with babies because I see numbers on the wall. Okay. I know she works with babies because she has the demeanor. She has that like that softness that more than likely tells me that she works with babies. I would check her profile, but we ain't got time for all of that, right? Nonetheless, she says she's been hit, she's been cussed at, she's been bitten, all that. I don't understand how you can keep teaching after that because I ain't gonna hold you. That's where the career shift would happen for me. I would not be, no, absolutely not. And I've seen this happen. I've seen kids like literally put hands on teachers and then, in front of their parents, they're perfect angels. And then the parents are like, oh, well, what did you do to the kid? Oh, well, why is my kid acting like that? Oh, I need proof. It's like, your kid is a nuisance. Your kid is problematic. Your kid is a menace to society. And you don't want to believe that they're a menace to society. Y'all need to listen to these teachers when they're telling you that your kids are doing fuck shit because this is not okay.
As a teacher, this so far, I have cried so much, more than I have, like with all my teaching of years combined. I feel like I have taken off so many days from my mental health because I have not been able to mentally or physically bring myself to school. Education is not in a good place right now. It's it's really bad. I have so many stories that I could talk about that I will be posting later, but it's time to go. It's time to go. Again, this was not an easy decision, um, but I do feel that it is necessary for myself and my own mental health. And it does break my heart that I am walking away for something that I went to school with and had so much passion for, but that passion is gone. I parent more than I do teach. I'm going to leave that at that. But I am excited to announce that I will be starting a new job at Heartland Church this July. I will be working as their digital communications coordinator, and I'm very excited for this opportunity. I'm excited to try something different and to start a new passion. So, thank you.
This was probably one of the realest videos I've ever watched as to why someone quit teaching. It was clear, it was concise, and most importantly, it was definitely real. Like, this is literally one of the main, like, everything she listed is one of the main reasons a lot of people leave teaching. And it's so unfortunate because, like, yeah, you do end up parenting more than you do teaching. But at the same time, it's crazy. As someone that's like really close to a lot of their teachers, like I still talk to a lot of teachers from college, high school, stuff like that. And yeah, a lot of them really did help raise me. I don't want to say my parents didn't do nothing, but I'll say like you spend some kids spend up to 12 hours in school, right? You're up at 6, sometimes you're at before care, and then you're in aftercare, you get picked up at 6. Like that's a whole 12 hours. So you're spending so much time with your educators, your teachers, etc. So a lot of times it's like you have no choice but to kind of see them as like a parent figure. And then you as a teacher, whether you're after school teacher or during the school teacher or a para or whatever, or substitute, it's like you end up having to teach kids certain skills that unfortunately they do not learn at home. I'm happy she got a new position, but it does suck that she went to school for this. And the passion went out the window because of the behavior of these students and these parents. And I just really want to implore you guys, like, especially if you're a parent, like, please do not take everything your kid says for face value. You should defend your kids. You should care about your kids. You should believe your kids. But when it comes to stuff like this, question, question, and question.
You're not gonna believe what the student did to me today at school. Disclaimer, he is not a student of mine. He is a student that was supposed to be in a class across the hall from me. This actually happened during passing period. I had just graded my students at the door, and I was speaking to another student of mine about some missing assignments that she had. She was standing right next to me. Again, we were standing still at the door. The student was in the hallway, and I was standing right by my door. When I see another student pass by me right in front of me and he goes into my class, mind you, he is not a student of mine, so I immediately asked him to leave my class and to please go to his correct class. He knew exactly where he needed to be, and he made the choice to come into my classroom. As he is finally exiting, he decides to stop right in front of me where I'm standing at the door. And you guys already know I'm only 3 feet 3 inches tall. Now, these are students who are about to go into high school. This student is very, very tall. And he gave me no personal space. And what I mean by that was that he intentionally stood right in front of me, and we were probably about 2 inches away from him rubbing his private parts in my face. And he did this with a smirk on his face. So I know for a fact that he did it intentionally. This was no accident. He had plenty of space to walk on the side of the door. But instead,
Y'all need to stop letting these kids get away with this. Yeah, he do what? He did what? Police, police, I have been essayed and I need you here right now. He old enough to do that. He old enough to go to the juvie, to go to the jail. What?
he chose to stand right in front of me, look down on me, and almost rubbed his parts on me. I did not even put my hand in front of him or anything. I instead went back like this because I didn't want to be accused of me touching his parts. So instead I went like this. And the other student who was speaking to me actually told him, dude, that's gross, because she saw what happened. She was my witness. Anyways, I said a lot of things to him and I asked him to please step away from me and to not ever come back into my classroom. He, of course, denied it and went finally into his classroom. I immediately called the teacher that I knew had him, and I gathered the information to call home. And this is why I'm making the video. It is so important that parents do their part. I want to tell you as a teacher, I will never take time out of my day to call and lie about your child, ever. And you best believe most teachers will never do that, okay? So if I'm taking the time out of my day to call you, it's because this actually happened. Luckily, the mom was very supportive and she immediately called him over to the phone to apologize to me. And he still had the nerve to deny it. He said he didn't do anything, he was nowhere near me, all these stories. Luckily, I had a witness, so, points for me, but mom she did the right thing of backing me up and helping him understand that what he had done was still wrong. And I praise this mom for doing the right thing and for putting him in his place because he knew better. This is an 8th grader about to go into high school, very soon to be an adult. If he does this as an adult, he is going to end up in jail. And he is lucky that I'm not pressing charges because that is harassment. And so I want to tell you, parents, if your child's teacher ever calls you to tell you that your son or daughter did something at school, please believe them because we have no reason to lie. Hold your child accountable and make them realize that what they've done is wrong and make them make it right. Because if you don't do that, if you don't take the necessary steps, when they in fact become adults, they're going to face a harsh reality. So anyways, this had never happened to me, and I definitely submitted a report to admin, and they are handling the situation. But again, parents, do your part.
I will say, I feel so bad for her because that's horrible. Especially as a little person, you already get disrespected on a daily basis because you're a little person. But then to be in a little person in a position of leadership and the kids out here treating you like this, and that's not even your student, child. Like, I already told my stories in that Surviving Newark Charter Schools series. But like, I had a kid try to like punk me on some, like, she came into my class and I told her to get out. And she got mad, walked out, cussed me out, and then was like banging my door. I'll say that's like the worst story that I have that I can think of. But I've witnessed so many other horrible stories. And it's like a lot of times the parents just believe the kids outright. I remember, and I talk about the story again in the Surviving Newark Charter School series. Like, there was a teacher that had a situation with one of the kids, or maybe two of the kids, and they literally sat there and called their mom and their aunt to come like basically beat up the teacher. Like, you can't make this up. Like, a lot of parents genuinely do not believe that their kids be doing all the shit that the teachers be saying that their kids be doing. And then they sit there and they blame the school, they blame the teachers. And it's like, y'all cannot blame these teachers for quitting at all.
Nothing but moms that I had the rights to be.
And this is one of the reasons why I quit. After a degree, after clinicals, after 5 years of teaching, one of those reasons is why I quit. And what had happened was I had a difficult student who he would come in high. He would sleep all class, period. Wrote him up. Admin did absolutely nothing. To a point to where some admin were deleting my referrals, deleting them. I would go back in and they would be gone for multiple students. And my last straw was the same kid. We were about to read. The audio was for 10 minutes and 16 seconds. 10 minutes and 16 seconds, I was asking students to put their phone away. And I kept asking him, and he wouldn't oblige. And he turns around to me, and he says, "You annoying as fuck." That day, I put in all my sick time. I put my 2 weeks in. I walked out. I ain't been back since. My stuff's still sitting in that desk.
Yikes. Okay, so wow. Now that I think about it, I've lived a lot of life. I also had kids that would come to class high. Shit, I think I had one that came to class drunk. I've had so many crazy experiences, and like she said, writing them up doesn't really do anything. For whatever reason, admin don't be really caring to follow up with these write-ups. I mean, like, you write this write-up as a teacher, you call home or whatever, and nothing gets done. What are you supposed to do with that kid? For me, what I did was I tried to reason with and I tried to talk to them like, why are you coming to school high? Weird enough, right? It's funny because they try to have these policies in place like, oh, if the kid is high, if the kid is under influence, call us and we'll handle it. They don't handle it. Okay, like, there was numerous times I had to tell the dean, like, yo, this one's high, or this one's this one's that. They don't care. Okay, so now I got to reason with the kid. I got to figure out where are they getting the substances? That's one. And two, why are they even doing it? Now they telling me their whole life stories. I get it. So for me, especially because some of the kids that would do this, ironically, it was my first or last period. That school in particular had flipped schedules. So it's like Tuesday. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it'd be one schedule. And then Tuesday, Thursday, it'd be another schedule. So I would end up having my first period last and my last period first. It was very weird. And they were just, oh my God, it was a lot. It's like either they'd be high or somebody just got in a fight and it'd be so annoying. So eventually, I did get some kids just taken out of the class completely because it was like, I can't deal with this. But some of the kids, I was actually able to get them to like stop coming to school hot. Like I had to tell them like, listen, no, I never came to school high. Barely smoked in high school. I did smoke in high school. I ain't gonna lie, I was a saint. But it's like I didn't do that crap in school, and I had to tell them like, listen, you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Like realistically, your parents should be locked up if they know that you're doing this, or they're giving you the substances, or if anyone in the school is giving you the substances, I need to know. But if you're gonna do that, don't come to school doing it. Period. I would wish and I would hope you're not gonna do it, even though you're not gonna listen to me. But don't come in my class. Don't come in the school building. Don't be doing nothing serious under the influence. Like, why do you think that makes sense? Like, I had to really, it's crazy. Like, I used to really tell them, like, why? Like, why do you think this? And they used to be like, bro, like, they used to stop coming in, or they'll be like, oh, I'm high. I ain't gonna come to class today. I'm sorry. Da 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 da. It's crazy because a lot of people, like, a lot of y'all probably hearing this, like, there's no way. This is unbelievable. I kid you not, especially if any of y'all work in like a predominantly like an urban area, okay? Like with Black, Hispanic, or like any type of foreign kids, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Like this shit is rampant, and now you got like freaking middle schoolers vaping. Forget about it. It's a constant battle. That it's like you're instead of teaching, you're constantly parenting. You're being a mentor, and that's why I applied for this position as a dance coach, mentor situation instead of being a dance teacher because it was like I was spending so much time doing freaking talking circles and mentoring these kids instead of teaching them dance and getting them to pass their tests and actually perform. Like it was so difficult because I'm focused on everything but teaching. In this case, though, with that stitch, with the teacher hearing that the kid said, "My mama gave me permission to beat your ass." See, that's where I'd be saying I'm low key worse than the kids. I'd have been like, "Do it," and then I would have pressed charges. I'm not putting hands on no kids, but I would have been like, "Do it," because you need to learn a lesson. You gonna be locked up. Because what are we talking about? Permission to be whose ass? So unfortunately, the original video has been removed, so I can't even look at it. But let's move on.
I actually had a student fabricate that I was having a sexual relationship with another student after she failed my class.
Wow.
So you see the fail, you see right after report cards come out, she failed my class. She went to the administration and said I was having a sexual relationship with my students. She saw me at the movies with him, which was ludicrous. And I had such anxiety about it, thinking my license is going to be taken away. My life is going to be destroyed. And, all for this, what I felt at the moment was a thankless job. And I was just deflated. At the end of this whole situation, because I had a rapport with the students, they chose to support me. And a lot of the students would stop talking. They'd stop talking to her. And they said, it's wrong that you're lying about this teacher. You're going to destroy her life. And when she was completely isolated, she went to the administration and confessed that she made up the whole story because she failed.
This is what I'm talking about, y'all. Like, these kids be malicious. I pray and hope to God I never have one of these experiences with these kids because when I'm telling you I'm going to the police, like, I don't play with kids. I don't play about kids and I don't play with kids. You're going to respect me the way I respect you because I operate on mutual respect. I think that's part of the reason I never really had any of these situations. I'm usually the teacher that a lot of kids get along with. Even kids that aren't my kids are usually like in my class asking me for advice, et cetera, et cetera. Like I have students that when they have an emergency, they hunt me down, they find my email, they find my whatever, and I got to pull up to whatever. So it's like I've always had that rapport with kids, but I know there's always those kids that it does not matter what you do. They're just going to always look out for self. And if you do something they do not like, they will more than likely ruin your life. It is absolutely disgusting that this lady had to go through this. And it's crazy. And it just goes into everything so far that we've covered, right? Like a lot of these parents, unfortunately, do not parent their kids. They do not care what their kids be doing. They think that their kids are angels. There's a lot that goes into it. Like I'll never forget there was this freaking kid that I was teaching. And this is why I don't teach babies. This is the first one, right? This is why I don't teach babies, bro. Tell me why. This summer I was teaching babies. Personally, it was a weird mix. It was babies all the way up to 12. Okay. It was very strange mix, especially for dance. You don't want to have different age ranges like that in a dance class because all different groups of kids learn differently. But especially in dance, there are certain things you cannot do with babies that you can do with older kids. For example, step to touch, right? Step touch, you can't really do with babies because they don't understand that concept yet. Their bodies don't really go that way. So it's just like, it was very difficult. But most importantly, like we had kids in there that you could tell they never heard no. Like, these were spoiled kids. These were kids where I'm talking about, like, nannies are bringing them to school. Like, I ain't never seen a parent until show day. Okay, like, they got money, they got status. Like, literally, they're living in freaking high rises. Like, literally, the median income for that area started at like 150,000. The houses, mind you, this is middle in Manhattan, like off of, I think it was 50th Street. I don't remember the area, but I'm telling you, like, apartments in that area for sale and for rent, we're starting in like the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not joking, and I'm not over exaggerating. Like, these kids had money. So I already kind of knew, like, okay, we gonna get some interesting type of kids that will not take no for an answer. And that's genuinely what happened. Like, literally, I had a kid, loved her to death, but like, she just would not listen. Like, every time it would be my time to do my choreography, she'd be the main one playing around, fussing around, doing the most. And I had to tell her, like, you know what? You're going to sit out until you learn how to act while we're trying to get this choreography. And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, okay, now please sit down over there. I'll call you back when I think you're ready or when you think you're ready. And she's like, but I said sorry. 6 years old, okay? And I'm like, okay. And you gonna sit down. Like, what do you mean I said sorry? Like, she said it as if sorry was supposed to fix something. Like, no, change behavior changes something. Now you're gonna sit in that corner and try to tell you to come back. Talk about some, or I said sorry. Girl, like, I was looking at her like, what? And you, this is why I don't work with the babies. They constantly test you. I don't have the patience. I don't have the time to be all day like Elmo. I don't have the time to, like, I'm a little too for babies as well. Like, I know how to tone it down when I have to, but like, to have to do that as a career, to work with anyone from like pre-K to third, I just can't. That's why I try to do fourth grade and up. Middle school is my sweet spot. I also love high school. I'll be working with a high school because it's like the babies, I just can't. And a lot of them, like, they will use the excuse that they can hit you or whatever and get away with it to their advantage. When it comes to teachers touching students, we already know, like, we've seen stories like this, countless stories like this. And it's unfortunate because I always want to know, like, what brings a kid to do this? Like, in this regard, the teacher failed the student, but you earned a failing grade. You failed. The teacher didn't technically fail you. You failed. So it's like, I need to understand, like, why these kids be doing this, and most importantly, why they think that their behavior does not warrant a failing grade. Like, if you didn't do the work, you're gonna fail. It's not like you tried and tried and tried and they failed you. Like, most of the time, you've been failing the whole time and you didn't care. And then where was your parent at? Where was your parent at to make sure that you didn't fail? Or to oversee that you were failing and to ask the teacher why? Like, I just don't get it.
I quit teaching, and here are 3 reasons why I knew I needed to quit. Number 1 is probably like a warning. When I would drive to work in the morning, I would literally hope that I drive off the bridge. And I thought that for a while. I went through a really tough, like, first year just with mental health. And my second year, honestly, I was just trying to get through every single day. And that leads me into my second reason on I literally was trying to get through every single day to the next break or the next weekend. And honestly, you shouldn't really live your life looking forward to the weekend or the next break. Like, yes, you can be excited for the break or the weekend, but I didn't want to live my life anymore dictated by what breaks I get or weekends or other different little, like, days off. I should like my day to day enough to want to live through it. And my last reason is I felt like I wasn't as passionate in the classroom about my subject. I love, like, teaching kids, but more about, like, life stuff. Like, science, I felt like I was not exceeding at all. If I do something, it's typically like balls to the wall, and I was just not feeling the excitement of the day-to-day of teaching science. So that's when I knew I needed to look elsewhere outside of education and find something else, because clearly this was not doing it.
I will say I appreciate the fact that she decided not to do something because she no longer had the passion. I feel like a lot of teachers be done by like year 1, year 5, minute 6, and they still just drag it out and drag it through because of the benefits, right? Because of the stability, because it's what they know. And it's like, I'm gonna tell you right now, teaching is not something you do as a job. It's something you have to have a passion for. You have to have a passion for what you're teaching. You have to genuinely like the kids. You have to like kids in general. Like, I don't understand. There'd be people like, well, I don't like kids. It's like, then why the fuck are you working with kids? What are we talking about right now? Like, especially the way these kids are set up these days, you gotta genuinely like kids and or want to make a genuine impact to work with them, because what are we talking about? You don't like it, just doesn't make sense. Like, these kids are not a walk in the park. You have to spend so much time with them. And then when you're not spending time with them, you have to spend time at home thinking about them. Or when you're doing admin work, thinking about them. For me, it was always the papers. It was always the grading of the papers that used to fuck me up. because it was like, oh my God. Like, it's bad enough I spent 8 hours to maybe 10 hours just here prepping, teaching, whatever, at the battlefield. And then I gotta go home. I gotta grade these papers. I gotta put the grades in. Yo, it used to really, really stress me out and piss me off because it was just like, oh my God, like when does it end? It was like I felt like I was constantly in teacher mode. Like I already feel like that as an influencer. I feel like as an influencer, I'm constantly looking at what videos I can post. Oh, how my videos are doing. Da da da. Bad enough I gotta deal with that. But I could not deal with the having to do that as a teacher as well. It was just too much work for not enough pay.
Hey, y'all, bring it on in. Can we talk about the number of teachers that are quitting right now? Yeah, teachers who went to school to get a degree because they were passionate about teaching children are quitting the education system. And you know why? One, because they're not paid enough. Number one, y'all should get combat pay to deal with some of these damn kids that their parents are sending them to school. But two, they're quitting because some of you adults are sending your kids to school with this whole, I don't have to respect adults unless they earn my respect, or they feel like there's no consequences for their negative behavior, or they feel like they can talk back to teachers because you've taught them talking back is expressing yourself. Or because when the teacher does call you because there's an issue with your child, you want to come out there and be combative and show your ass instead of taking it up with your kid. So teachers are quitting because you're creating these monsters and then you're sending them into the schools for the teachers to have to deal with, unfortunately. So if you don't want anyone to say anything to your child, if you feel like your child has to, no, I'm sorry. If you feel like an adult has to earn your child's respect, if you feel like your child doesn't have to listen to anyone and they can talk back and be disrespectful because you allow it and you say that's them advocating and speaking up for themselves, keep them home. Keep them home. Don't raise them like this. And then you send them out into the world for somebody else to deal with them. And then they're at school for longer periods of time than they're actually at home with you. So like I said, if that's how you want to raise your children in this new way of parenting in which you all are parenting young ones, homeschool your kids. And to the teachers, y'all deserve hazard pay. Because if I was teaching, it would just be a hazard.
Legit. Everything she said is spot on. Like, I don't understand, y'all. Y'all literally be teaching y'all kids to disrespect or not respect authority until they earn it. And it's crazy. And now that I think about it, it's weird because I've been on both ends, right? Like, obviously, I've been a student, and now that like I'm in a teacher leadership type of role, it's weird because I operate off of respect first. And I think now that I think about it, that's probably why I do it. Because I guess from millennials onward, a lot of times we did have the whole like, you ain't gonna talk to me anyway. You gonna respect me, and you gotta respect me in order to get the respect. So I guess that's why I teach the way I teach. But I don't think it's necessarily okay, especially for all types of aid groups. You should respect authority, like in a general sense. Like that's part of the way just the world works. You shouldn't just be out here disrespecting authority, especially as a kid. And I feel like a lot of these kids are given too much leeway at home, and that's what's causing a lot of issues in these schools.
I am a first-year high school English teacher. This is definitely going to be my first and last year teaching. I was made very quickly aware of the fact that this is not the profession for me. It is absolutely astonishing and scary how your kids are 14, 15 years old and still do not have the proper reading skills. And I'm not talking about the ESC kids, the 504s, the IEP kids. I'm talking about your everyday regular Joe Schmo from Kokomo kid who does not know how to read and write at the level that they should. And the problem is that they don't care to learn how to do those things correctly. I can't teach the class because your kid wants to be a disruption, because your kid wants to be on their phone, because your kid does not give a flying about their education. The problem really, yes, the problem is your kid. The problem is also you as a parent, but the problem is also the administration who continuously makes these stupid excuses for these kids' bad behavior. Why in the world are you still talking about COVID? Every time these kids act up, it's always, well, they spent 2 years in COVID. So did everybody else. That was 2 years ago. At what point are we going to stop blaming COVID for these kids' bad behavior? At what point are we going to stop making these excuses for these kids? They are the problem.
Honestly, homeboy has a legitimate point. Like, it is absolutely insane how much teachers have to stop to correct behavior, how much teachers have to go out of their way to parent these kids, how much teachers have to call home, tell admin, do these write-ups for nothing to be done. So I can't even blame teachers for quitting. I can't blame them for quitting in the beginning, during the middle, during the end, after 10 years, 5 years, one day. I cannot blame them because for everybody that goes into this field, I feel like no one really understands how bad it is until they get there. I'll say for me, I already dealt with challenging children. Therefore, I mean, because I was one of those challenging children in a way. So I understand how their brain works to an extent. But even at that, it gets taxing. It gets exhausting. It gets annoying. And sometimes you just don't want to deal with it. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they don't have a choice and that's their job. But for a lot of people, they genuinely don't care and they'll leave. Like that's what happened to me with the surviving your charter school thing. It was like, I'm not about to stay here. I don't have to be here. I'm an influencer at the end of the day. I still have income. Like it wasn't ever one of those things where it was like, I have to be here. I want to be here. It's a big difference. And I always start my classes off the same way. Like, listen, I don't gotta be here. I want to be here. And it's so funny. These kids be like, clacky. Like, these kids are so funny. Like, okay, okay. Like, I see you. And the thing is, that's part of it too. I think kids aren't stupid. I really genuinely think that kids are way more intelligent than we think they are. Hence why they are able to run amok and get away with it. They know when their teacher is there just to collect a paycheck. I do not think it is okay for them to run amok, curse teachers out, and be disrespectful. Never, ever will I condone it. However, I understand, especially me, like, again, like I said, I was one of these kids. I understand and I know, okay, I was able to tell when someone didn't like kids, when someone was just there to be there, when someone didn't want to be there. And it's like, why would I learn from you if you don't care about me as a student? And unfortunately, I realized that that's how a lot of these kids feel as well. A lot of kids feel like their educators don't care, the admin doesn't care, their parents don't care. So it's like, what do you do with kids that genuinely feel like nobody cares about them? Like, it's really, really difficult. But I will say, when kids care about you, they care about you, right? There's been so many protests on the news with students protesting for teachers they genuinely care about, for staff that have been fired wrongfully due to budget cuts or due to just some ridiculous reason. So it's not that all these kids are bad or these kids don't respect any type of authority. Unfortunately, a lot of times you do have to earn their respect. And it is beautiful to see that kids have protested on behalf of teachers that they genuinely did, like, love and care about. Like, even here in Jersey, as are familiar with North Star Academy, those kids have protested a few times. There's been walkouts. Even the kids where the school that I worked at, they sat there, they protested. Honestly, they protested because they took their phones away, which, to be honest, I feel like all schools should be collecting phones. This year, I've seen a lot of schools have been doing so, and it has definitely mitigated a lot of problems. They protested because the school took their phones. I was just like, y'all seriously ridiculous. Y'all ain't got no curriculum. Y'all ain't got no books. Your teachers keep quitting, and you guys decide to have a protest over phones. Y'all have lost the plot. But at the same time, they're kids, okay? So it just shows kids know what they value and what they care about and what they will and will not accept. So stop thinking that they're stupid. Stop not taking what they do for face value, especially as a parent. Ask questions. Make sure you get to the bottom of things. If you think someone is mistreating your kid, if you think that, your kid is doing too much, whatever it is that you feel, make sure you thoroughly investigate it. With that being said, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. Are you a teacher? Are you admin? Are you a dean? Etc. I would love to hear what you guys think about the teacher shortage and people quitting, because there's a lot that goes into it. With that being said, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to see y'all next time. Bye.